Hyrox Wall Balls, the last thing standing between you and that epic finish line photo. In this video, we are going to go through everything you need to know about the wall ball. The workout station rules, most importantly, so we don't get any penalties or no reps. Some things to think about when we're doing the movement to make sure we're moving as efficiently as possible. And we're just going to have a little look at some common faults that we see, some best practices you can implement during the workout station. So first and foremost, what are the rules for the wall balls? Well, when you come into the wall ball area, you are going to be assigned a lane by a judge. They're basically just going to be stood there waving their arm around. You need to go where they point you. When you get to your designated lane, you're going to find yourself a wall ball and a couple of targets. The lower target is for the ladies, the upper target is for the gents. Each and every one of your 100 wall ball reps must start with a squat. So from that first rep, we're going to pick the ball up and then go into a squat. Your hips must descend lower than your knees. The judge is going to be there checking that. Now, if you know that is an area you struggle with for whatever reason, mobility, etc., you can opt to have a box as a reference point. So just let your judge know that you want the box when you first come into your lane. They will pop a box between your feet underneath your hips so that every time your butt touches the box, you know that you're at the right depth. From there, we're going to throw the ball overhead once we come out of our squat, and we're either going to hit that lower or upper target. Now, one thing to bear in mind is we've got to hit the middle of that target. So you cannot touch, the ball cannot hit the bottom of the target or sort of sit on top of it. It has to hit the middle of the target for the rep to count. If we're in the doubles division, we can obviously swap out whenever we want to and break up those 100 wall balls however we so wish. When you aren't doing wall balls, you need to stand on the designated mat. Now, depending on the location, that is either going to be inside the rig or behind your partner. So just check that as you're coming in, clock where the mat is as the partner that isn't going to wall ball first, and make sure you're standing there because the reps won't count until you are on that mat. Okay, technique-wise, so as I mentioned, we've got 100 of these things to do. We want to be moving as proficiently as possible and conserve as much energy as we can in each and every rep, because that is going to add up and pay dividends, being able to hold on to extra reps. First thing to think about is our squat mechanics. Generally speaking, we want our feet to be just wider than our hips when we're squatting, but wherever it feels comfortable and enables you to hit those movement standards is absolutely fine. From there, things that we can do to help us with that external load in our hands is to stick the ball on your chin really early on. So you can see as I pick the ball up in the video, I'm immediately putting that ball on my chin. And what you can see that does is just force my eyes upwards. That's going to force me to have a really proud chest, which is going to help with everything else in the squat. The hips are going to go back and then down to enable the weight to stay in the middle of my foot. So I'm in a nice balanced position as I descend into that squat. Once I've thrown the ball and come out of my squat and thrown the ball, I'm then going to think about relaxing my arms. So I'm going to try not to leave them really high, pointing towards the sky. I'm not going to do any sort of swimming butterfly motion as the hands come down. I'm going to try and throw the ball, relax the shoulders and get ready to catch it, bringing the hands down straight. We can see a couple of reps in the video now. So coming into that squat, I'm hitting depth with my hips below my knee. I'm accelerating out of the squat to enable as much momentum to be generated from the legs as possible. And then I'm sticking the ball on my chin. And you can see in these later reps that once I've got the hang of that movement pattern and I can consistently catch in a nice balanced position, I'm then trying to make that movement nice and fluid by dropping into my squat as I catch the ball. And you can see now that we're starting to create a bit of fluidity in the movement, and it's just stopping us from that knee-jerk break in between each of the reps. A few common mistakes then that we see in the wall ball. First of all, when you come into the workout station, it can be quite disorientating. There's going to be a ton of stuff going on around you. There's going to be a PA system screaming and shouting at people. There's going to be a huge crowd in the bleachers calling out your name, egging you on to do more reps. We want to try and stay relaxed and present in the movement that we're doing. But as I said, that can be quite hard. One thing that makes it a little bit more difficult is generally the rigs are black in color and the rooms are relatively dark. There are lights, but they are immediately above you, and that can obstruct your view of the target. And one thing we see quite a bit is people standing a little bit too close to the target ball. And you can see in the video that just results in the ball bouncing off quicker than it wants to and shooting me back behind. So a little bit of a top tip: when you come into the station, roll the ball towards you. You may well start a little bit too far away, but that's okay because you can step in a lot easier than you can step back into another rep. So if we just check the video playing now, you can see that I start a little bit too far away, but it's far easier for me to correct that by stepping in than it is in the first video where it shoots me back behind. It's almost impossible to go into another rep. So a little top tip: as you get to the ball, stand about a foot behind it, roll the ball towards you, and then dive into that second rep by stepping in. Secondly, a bit of a movement refinement that we can make is trying to avoid catching the ball really high. Now, the reason for this is if we catch the ball standing up straight, we're therefore squatting that 6 or 9 kilo ball all the way down into our squat, and you're basically doing 100 6 or 9 kilo squats. In this video, you can see that I've now started to try and descend slightly before I catch the ball, and I'm almost catching the ball in the very bottom position of my squat. This allows me to use the stretch reflex in the muscle in order to bounce out the bottom of my squat, catching the ball at the same time. So I've basically avoided the lowering portion of the squat with every single rep. And that is going to add up in abundance as we go across those 100 reps. Hopefully that gives you a couple of things to think about during your wall balls. Don't forget, when you do cross that finish line, big old smile, big celebration. You've managed to get yourself all the way to the end. Yeah, fuck that in there. Okay, that is the last bit.